Hi there, Loren Crawford, YogiLoren. Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt like, oh my God, I'm still in this situation, right? And it can look like patterns recurring in your life, or maybe you find yourself in a job and you're kind of saying, I can't believe I'm still in this job and I'm not that happy and feeling stuck. And maybe it's a relationship. Maybe you're in a relationship that's no longer fulfilling you. You know, it's kind of run its course and it might be time to move on. How do we get unstuck? So I think the yoga tradition is really, really great in terms of some of the tools and techniques we can work with to get unstuck. And the stickiness can be a lot of just inertia in the mind, shall we say, and it can also manifest a little bit in the body, right? So oftentimes what's going on in the mind is also related to something. It manifests in the body in a way that if you move the body, you can start to sort of shift that energy and also start to shift some of the mental landscape as well. Remember, we're holistic beings, right? What's going on in here isn't divorced from what's going on in here. I often talk about how many of us are walking around like we're severed here. Like there's this head part of our being and there's this body part of our being, and they're not really connecting. So when we start to make those stronger connections, then we can actually begin to address this idea about inertia. And so what are some of the things that we can do? First of all, having the wherewithal to kind of recognize, acknowledge that I'm stuck, right? And that can be a little bit painful when we recognize that. It's like, how did I end up here? Oh my gosh, I feel whatever. And it's like, don't beat yourself up. Have a little bit of self-compassion. Recognize, and then we can begin a journey to move forward. And so what might that look like? That some of the things that you can incorporate into your daily life to move out of inertia. Well, I'm here to talk about yoga, so I'm going to be an advocate of daily practice, right? And daily practice does not need to be, 90 minutes on your mat and doing a full, whatever routine. It can just be really, really simple. It might be as little as, 15 minutes. But you get on the mat, you work with some postures and a little bit of stillness of the mind. And then you might, at the end of it, if you go back and look at the Sankalpa recording from a number of issues back, you might want to work with a Sankalpa, an intention, right? And incorporate that. Within the practice itself, you may want to do a few things like, I'm thinking of the breath technique, Kapalabhati, which is the pumping action, the forced exhalation. We squeeze the navel back with force and expel the breath, and then we just release the belly and there's a spontaneous inhalation. That Kapalabhati breath is, oh my gosh, it's this powerful, powerful cleansing process, and it cleanses here in the respiratory tract. It also does this pumping action in the gut, which is tonifying for the abdomen on a very physical level, but it also works with all of the energy centers in the abdomen, of which there are many, and it's very powerful. There's deep intelligence in the gut, right? But it will start to make us feel more alert and more alive. So those are some things you can do yoga-wise. A little bit of daily practice, include some Kapalabhati, and get still for a few moments at the end of the practice, and just allow yourself to sort of rest in that spaciousness of stillness, right? The tradition tells us that all of our answers are found in stillness. And yet, how many of us in our daily lives spend any time in stillness, right? We're just so busy and preoccupied with a lot of the trappings of modern life, including all of our gadgets, our phones, the Netflix, you name it. So getting still. The other thing, less yogic, but also yogic, is getting out and getting into nature and going for a walk. And if you live in a concrete jungle in the middle of a city, then get to a place where there is some green life, right? Some living stuff. Get to a park or something. For those of you, I live in Ottawa, and we have amazing pathway systems, whether it's for cycling, walking, what have you. And it's so easy to find that space. When you get in contact with nature, there's a nourishing and a nurturing aspect to it. So it's really, really helpful. And that can help you to get out of your funk, right? Get unstuck. The other thing you may want to do is just reflect a little bit on who am I spending time with? Where am I investing my time? So it could be that some of the social interactions you're doing, and that can even be work, right? Maybe people at work or just social interactions, people you're socializing with, might be a little bit of a downer. So it might be time to stay away from some of those folks, right? Make some conscious choices around that stuff. And then what are you occupying yourself with, in terms of streaming? Netflix and all of these streaming channels, which many of us are using these days, a lot of the content is dark, right? And if you're in a place where you're feeling stuck and you start watching, a lot of dark and heavy content, that can actually just get you in that mired in that muck. So here's a good segue to the end of this little share. One of the images that's used in the yoga tradition is the lotus. And so what does the lotus do? It's a beautiful flower that rises up from the muck, right? So if you're stuck and your life is feeling a little bit muck-like at this point, know that you don't need to rest there. You don't need to remain there. That you do have the capacity to get unstuck, to use some of the yoga tradition techniques to do that, and to be the lotus flower. You rise up out of that muck and become all of that beautiful true potentiality that you are in terms of your life and where you're going. That's my share. I hope that resonated, and be sure, if you have questions, to drop me a note below and hook yourself up to my membership site, my newsletter, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.